Kia ora, good evening. Talks are continuing between the owners of the Teeway Point aluminium smelter and Meridian Energy, but both parties remain tight-lipped on the subject. The aluminium producer and energy giant reconvened negotiations last Wednesday in the hope of reaching an agreement, and those negotiations are still ongoing. The smelter entered a supply contract with Meridian in 2007, with that contract commencing at the start of this year. The high New Zealand dollar and low commodity prices are affecting the viability of Teeway Smelter, which employs just under 2,500 people. The smelter has previously said renegotiating its power contract is crucial. Students at Invercargill's James Hagos College are still feeling the effects of an arson in January, which virtually destroyed a block of classrooms. It had been hoped the building would be rebuilt by early May, but that work is yet to even begin, with the project delayed by assessment work. Thousands of dollars a week is being spent operating buses and paying extra teaching staff, and students are losing learning time, being transported to temporary classrooms. Decisions on an insurance payout and the shape of repairs are still to be made. Principal Andy Wood says it's the Ministry of Education that will decide the future of the building.
If the Ministry have to spend more money rebuilding this building than they recover from their insurance people, then that will be a drawdown against the school's capital works entitlement, which is an entitlement each school gets for its major developments.
So that could affect future projects for the school?
Yes, what will happen there is it will delay future projects for the school. So the projects, for example, that we had planned to do within the next 5 years, some of them will have to move into a later time frame.
You're still ferrying children from the high school here down to the junior campus in Layard Street?
Yeah, that's correct. On the hour every hour there's a foods class, hops on a bus and goes down to junior campus, and they're in a good routine now and that's working well.
What do you estimate the cost of that's being at the moment?
Well, the cost of that is about $1,000 a week for the buses, plus the employment of a full-time food technician who helps the teacher prepare food and clean up, so that that accounts for some of the time that the students are losing through their bus transport.
How much time in the classroom are they losing?
They're probably losing about 12, 14 minutes per hour by the time they get there and the time they get back. But as I said, that time is mitigated by the food technician doing some of the clean-up tasks that students normally would do for themselves.
You've said it's the Ministry's decision ultimately. What would you like to see happen here?
What we'd like to see is the building taken down to ground level and built anew, because that would seem to be the sensible thing to do. That way there would be modern materials used, it would be more better for heating, light, modern materials, less maintenance, and the Ministry would own a new building instead of owning a 60-year-old patched up building.
When can you expect a decision on this?
We're hoping a decision to be announced within the next few days.
Inflation rose close to 0.5% in the first 3 months of the year. That's according to Statistics New Zealand's Consumer Price Index, which showed a 0.4% increase. The main contributor to the rise was a 12% increase in cigarette and tobacco prices, which accounted for 2/3 of the rise in inflation. Among areas to see rises: food, rent, petrol and prescription medicines. These were countered by lower international travel prices, cheaper telecommunication services and discounting for products such as furniture and appliances. For the year ending March, inflation rose 0.9%. A team of Department of Conservation staff are busy hunting for some very small and rare prey this week. The Asphodes frivola moth is native to New Zealand and is found at only a handful of sites, all in Southland. A team of 4 are scouring the Teeway Conservation Area, Three Sisters, Fort Rose and the Teeway Spit, looking for the moth. It's the first time a concerted effort has been made to learn more about it. The work ties in to an ongoing greater conservation project in the area. Doc Science Advisor for Conservation, Eric Edwards, says the aim is to learn more about the threatened species.
Yeah, so we're looking for a moth that's called Asphodes frivola. It's a genus Asphodes. It's got many species in New Zealand. It's an evolution that's fantastic here, and there's one that's only found here.
So why is it only found in Southland?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess it's a part of how this place has evolved through time, through the last several thousand years. In fact, more than that, in several 100,000 years. We've had a chance to establish unique things on a unique landscape.
Now, with this particular species, what is it that makes you come out and look for it this week?
Yeah, so this is a species where the adults only live for a short time, and they're autumn emerging. They only emerge in April, and so if we try to find them any other times of the year, they're only caterpillars.
Now, in terms of the work that you're doing, what will be the next steps after this?
So the next step is to establish a bit more about the distribution, where it's found. It's really quite local. We just need to find the 2 or 3 places that it's in, and then consider all the threats to those places and to the species.
Now, is it a threatened species?
Yes, it is. Because it's so local and because so many activities happen around shorelines, even in Southland, we have to watch out.
Is there any idea as to how many of these moths there could actually be?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to count insects, the way that they respond to their environment. But the best way to understand it is to try and map the distribution where they live.
So tell me, what is it that makes this place special?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's about how the biota has been preserved through time. So if you think about the history of this place, everything around you is original. The very first person to step ashore here, this is exactly what they would have seen. When you look down through there, that's exactly as it was hundreds of years ago. And so that's been preserved, and that's a neat artefact of history. Elsewhere around New Zealand, those things have gone. But here, all the rare things are still here, and those neat plants are here, and that place is still here. It's got a great romance about it, actually. It's very special.
Stay with us after the break. At almost 150 years old, Invercargill's oldest building gets a facelift. Welcome back. At almost 150 years old, Invercargill's oldest building has been getting a facelift. The Southland Provincial building was built in 1864 and is owned by the New Zealand Historic Places Trust. Regional Manager Paul McGann says the works included repainting, roof work and the replacement of sandstone sills. The work has cost around $30,000 and has taken around 6 weeks. The building is now home to Liz Thomas and was previously used as a Masonic lodge and once housed the Southland Provincial Council. A cooked breakfast and some good fatherly advice was on the table for men at the Mirahuku Marae this morning. Around 40 fathers and grandfathers were at the Fathers' Breakfast organised by Waihopai Runaka and Bonaros. Waihopai Runaka General Manager Adele Steelan says the event was the first in a series of hui targeting men's health and well-being this year. The idea was to support men and fathers in general, providing a chance for tāne to come together and talk about being parents. The event also had guest speakers giving practical parenting advice. The Southland Environment Awards have been growing in recent years, with nominations last year reaching the highest number in the event's history. Sarah Bedford spoke to event organiser Michelle Poole about the growth and what it's hoped the event will achieve.
It's actually about the individuals, the families, the community groups, companies, farmers, all doing really good things. So this is a chance for us to recognise them, give them a reward, give them a bit of publicity and encourage others to do the same thing.
Now, last year was the largest number you'd ever had.
It was. In fact, every year for about the last 5, we've had the largest number of nominees we've ever had. Last year we had 33. It took the judges 7 days to get round them all. So this year, well, it's in the lap of the gods. The entries are open now. They haven't started coming back in yet. There's always a last-minute rush, but I'd be surprised if we got fewer than 30.
Why do you think the reason is for that growth?
Well, I think there are more and more people doing environmental projects or thinking about how they can make their business more sustainable. Lots of schools now, they don't have to be enviro schools, of course. Lots of schools are simply planting vegetable gardens, running recycling schemes, all sorts of things. In fact, the standard of entries has gone up every year.
Now, you're hoping as well that these will encourage or promote environmental work around the region?
Yeah, what tends to happen is that the people who win the awards then get some publicity through various media, and other people say, maybe we could do that, and the message spreads. So it's a really good way of just spreading the word about good things that are happening and celebrating what people are doing.
Now, last year the awards combined for the first time with the Department of Conservation.
Yes. Yeah, we We partnered with DOC for the awards night. We still run the Southland Environment Awards separately to the Southland Conservation Award, but it just made sense to hold one joint awards night, and we'll do the same this year. So there'll be the Southland Environment and Conservation Award presentations, but the Environment Award nominations are a completely separate project.
So are you expecting to see growth again in this year's awards?
Well, every year I think, can there be new nominees, people we haven't already seen? And every year we've been really surprised by the new number of projects that have come out. So I'm expecting at least 30 nominees this year based on past entries, yeah.
Do you think Southland's in a different position from the rest of the country in terms of the environmental work that's happening here?
No, I think, from what I hear from my colleagues in other places, many of them also run environment awards, and they're seeing the same sort of broad range of activity. The categories we've got, they go right across everybody from individuals to farmers, companies, community groups, businesses, and also an innovation category. And I think they're just representative of the way the whole community is thinking about environmental projects and what they can do to make the place better.
A tropical sunfish has been found washed up on a Southland beach, an unusual sight on the shoreline near Teeway Point, as it's very rare for this species to be found this far south. The slow surface swimmer is one of the biggest bony fish in the world and can grow up to 3.3 metres in length and up to 2 tonnes in weight. They're usually long-lived, and it's not known how this fish met its end. Te Papa Fish's collection manager Andrew Stewart says the sunfish is toward the southern limit of its normal environment and suggests it may have been discarded from a trawler net or struck down by a parasitic disease. And that's it from the news. Coming up in sport, Zero Fees Sharks coach Paul Henare on the Breakers and Friday night's first round home game against the Super City Rangers. From the news team, good night.